Hello and welcome to another installment of What is Bettina up to this week? Well, my friends, I am finally breaking in my new Caran colored pencils. Let's take a second to appreciate how pretty this box looks. So I did not want to use watercolor paper because of its texture. So I dug into my stash of notebooks and I found this gem. And when I opened it, I realized I had started Inktober of 2019. So there's a couple of drawings that I did way back when for you to enjoy. But the main reason why I chose this particular notebook was because of its paper quality. Although I have to say, once I started coloring, it was almost a little bit too slick. I don't know if this bee paper is the same company that I get the watercolor bee paper from. But yeah, that's something to look into and see if that is the case. But anyway, here I'm checking out how smooth this paper is, and I decided to give it a go. I knew I wanted to use as many colors as I possibly could, and I figured I should just start with the lightest colors first. So I pulled out the yellows, and there is quite a bit of yellow tones for me to choose from, and that seemed to be a good start. I had really no idea what I wanted to do apart from using as many colors as I could, because part of this exercise was to, test out the colors and see how well they would layer and mix. It's a little unfortunate I started with yellow because you can barely see it, but don't worry, it's gonna get better in a moment here once I start adding the darker colors to it. I have never drawn like this before, not in my videos and not in my free time. I have layered pencils before, but not to the point where I started going off and creating intuitive shapes with it. So this was kind of something new for me, and the moment I realized what was happening, I started to get really excited. However, I knew that I needed some background colors to do this with, and so I am just layering a lot of different colors here. Unfortunately, though, this took me over 2 hours, so yeah, that was a long time of me just putting down colors and layering. And so there were times where I layered 5, 6, 7 different colors on top of each other just to, give it that depth and that texture. I'm gonna pop in a separate window of a section of me coloring where hopefully you can see how often I switch out those pencils. I do have to speed it up a little bit because otherwise it would just take forever. But I figured it would be helpful to pop that in and show you. Because I've never edited a video like this before, it took me a moment to figure out as a viewer what would work best. I kind of wanted to include everything because of all the shading that is going on, but I also knew I had to cut it down quite a bit to make it a watchable experience, and I did not want all of it to be in time lapse. I can only take a short amount of time lapse unless it is done professionally and seamlessly. But otherwise, my brain just kind of shuts off after a little while. So I did not want you guys to do that or to have to go through that as well. So I thought the best option would be to just take little clips and put them together that way, in the hopes that you could still see me layering a little bit without having to sit through all of it. Because to be honest, sometimes when you layer these pencils, you can't really see what's going on until you layer a lot of colors, if that makes sense. There's certain parts that I watched back that I was glad I could cut out, because even though I was layering and coloring all the time, I couldn't really see a huge difference until I moved on to the next section. So in a lot of ways, being able to edit a video makes a lot of sense and is a good idea. I almost forgot how meditative the process of coloring with colored pencils can be. And I really got into a zone and really started enjoying this process of layering and just putting down colors and see what they're doing. I have not done this in so long, apart from coloring my watercolor backgrounds that I sometimes do. But just starting from scratch on a white piece of paper, it's been a while. It's almost a forgotten skill in a sense, for me at least. I remember in school how I loved coloring and working with colored pencils. So I'm very happy that I have rediscovered colored pencils. So much so that I went and ordered an adult coloring book even, because I want to use the colored pencils more, and I kind of want to rediscover coloring pages and just coloring in general. I almost feel like it could be as therapeutic as doodling or neurographic lines in a sense. And also sometimes your mind just needs a break from creating, and it's nice to work on something that doesn't require a whole lot of brain power behind it. I'm curious what you guys do when you want to be creative in some way, but you don't want to put that brain power behind creating something from scratch. Do you guys grab a coloring book, or do you do something else? Do you create something with clay or scrapbooking, or what do you guys do? I'm not much of a scrapbooker. I could work with clay because I like that, but that would mean that I would have to clear everything off my workspace, and that in itself is a whole nother project that I soon will have to tackle. I can no longer ignore it. It has gotten a little bit out of hand. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the coloring book will do. If you are doing coloring books, what kind of coloring books do you gravitate towards? And could you let me know? Because I know I don't want to do a lot of intricate things because I think I would lose interest or it would become too tedious. So I think I found one and I forget what it's called off the top of my head. But I think I found one that has bigger pictures for me to color. I'm excited. I can't wait for it to get here. I feel like I have been talking for forever and I have barely made a dent, it seems. But I'm starting to see a few shapes forming and something that I can now start focusing on. I really like the sound that the pencils make when they scratch on the paper. And so I decided not to put any music over it and just let you listen to those pencil scratchings. I wish I could explain to you exactly step by step what I'm doing, but maybe it helps for you to hear that what I'm looking for are areas that pop up once they get shaded in or worked on a little bit more. Like, for example, here I can see this little teardrop forming, and so I am focusing on that a little bit more. But as I am working on it, I can then also see that there is a spherical shape up top, and then I immediately move into different shapes. It's almost like I get distracted by all those shapes all of a sudden popping up. It's hard to explain. And I don't want to make it sound like it's bigger than what it is, because it's not. It's just me coloring it in and then looking at the different shadings, and sometimes I can see something pop up and other times I have to work on it a little bit more and then it will pop up, but oftentimes it does not, and so I have to move on to a different section for a little while, and I think maybe that's what it is. That's why I'm hopping around on the page so much. Like, it's really not rocket science, so I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is the next big thing for you to try. It's not. But it's just interesting to me how these things form. And that's why I kind of wanted to know, are you interested in seeing something like this? Because I know most of you come to my channel for the watercoloring and the doodling. But if you have never tried something like this and you kind of want to see how it's progressing and how it's evolving, then, maybe it is something else that you can give it a try and see if, this is something that you might like for a change. Because for me personally, I feel like if I do one thing and one thing only for a long period of time, I get so burnt out that sometimes I don't realize that I'm burnt out. But I can tell when I am looking for other things to do, when am looking for that break, that I don't want to do what I have been doing. Words are really hard sometimes, and most of the time when I do these voiceovers, I can barely remember at the end what I have been talking about. So I apologize if some of these things that I am trying to explain don't make a lot of sense. But I also hope that what you are seeing and what you're watching will speak for itself, so that, you know, you can tune me out and maybe just watch me instead. But before this video is over, I want to make sure that I tell you that you don't need expensive colored pencils to do this kind of thing. Everything I do, you can achieve with whatever you have on hand. If it's just super cheap Crayola pencils that you have laying around and you want to give it a go, by all means, go ahead and do that. There is not ever a moment where I feel like you have to go out and buy all of these things that I am using in my videos. So don't let not having expensive colored pencils be in the way of you trying something like this, is I think what I'm trying to say. I am definitely intrigued with this new discovery, and I think I want to do more of it. So I would like to know from you all, would you be interested in seeing more of this? Like I said in the beginning, I wasn't quite sure how to edit this video, so if this editing style of this type of artwork works for you, that would be super helpful to know. And do you want to see more? Because I feel like it has a lot of potential, and I could potentially see myself using this with adding doodles, but I'm not 100% sure yet. What I know is that I want to explore more and create more of that style. And I definitely also want to try different papers. I really like seeing the colored pencil marks that it makes on this kind of paper. What I am struggling with is working on rougher paper, where the rough paper texture is more visible than the pencil marks. It's like those two textures almost compete with each other. So I think next time I will just work on a slightly rougher paper than the one I'm using here and see how it behaves, because I feel like it was almost a little too slick to work on this kind of paper. All right, I feel like we've gotten somewhere in the meantime. It looks like I am just accentuating some of those shapes a little bit more. I have added a couple more where I felt like it needed to be balanced out a little bit, and I didn't seem to have a lot of trouble incorporating that after the fact. There is definitely things that I like more than others, as with any artwork that I do. But working on this gets me really excited for what else I could do with it. I feel like it has a lot of potential. And as with everything that we do, the more we practice, the better we get. So it can only go up from here. Is it perfect? No, but it was more of a color study, a pencil study, and just kind of see what comes out when there is no plan. And because it is a newer medium to me, I kind of needed that time to get to know it and to kind of see what my capabilities are as well. What I can say after having worked with it is that I really love that I can work on shading. I like it better than watercolors in that aspect. I could see myself even using a watercolor background and adding a lot more of the color pencils on top that I have in the past. I would definitely probably need to work on Canson watercolor paper because it is a lot less textured than the paper that I've been using recently. So that is definitely something that I want to explore a little bit more as well. I hope you're as excited as I am at this point because I really want to do more of this and I really want to explore more. So I'm hoping that you're here for it. You know, obviously, I will go back and forth and switch it up in between. This is not going to be the end all of my channel, but it's definitely something that we can hopefully all get excited over for future projects. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.